Emotion. Angazi noma yiyo noma kanjani. Injena nje. Eyi mfethu ngamane ngiyofika emngceleni mfana. Ngamane ngiyofisha umngcele. Eyi ngeke. Eyi. Ngamane ngiyofisha umngcele.
So I went out with a couple of friends the other night, and basically I usually drive to where I go, just off the premise that I don't necessarily drink when I go out, or I don't drink too much, or I just maybe it's one drink or so, and then of course I go home. So yeah, I was actually going out with a couple of friends the other night, and I pretty much I said, okay, I didn't feel like driving because one of my homies actually came back from the UK to SA, so he wanted to go out. Of course, he hasn't been here for a while, etc. So we said, okay, fine, let's grab an Uber. So we grabbed an Uber. So I requested a ride, and of course, because I drive a lot of most of the times, I don't necessarily use the Uber because I'm always driving around most of the time. So yeah, I used it for the first time. So of course I had to download my app, etc. So anyway, I gave an Uber, and pretty much the driver arrives, of course, very polite, very, very nice guy, very polite dude, very, very hospitable, welcoming gentleman, and we just of course got to talking, and I obviously came upon this story, what was going on in Maponya Mall recently, and yeah, pretty much in the whole scenario, I asked him what's popping, what's happening, and he's like, he wasn't too much aware because where he operates is on the other side of town, so he doesn't necessarily get rides from the area generally where the chaos is happening, right? So anyway, so I said, what's the problem? And then he said, I'd taken, of course, there's a lot of dangers behind, being a Bolt or an Uber driver, of course, because now he had gone through a situation where he was held at gunpoint as well, and somebody actually reached in his car and took his phone as well. And he was also in a predicament where he was, his life depended on it, where he was extorted for money to be let go with his life, right? So that's how real it got, of course, I was like, what the heck, what does our country come to? I think if we haven't dealt, or we're dealing with load shedding issues, we're dealing with corruption issues, we're dealing with so many things under the sun right now in South Africa. That anyway, of course, it came to arise that he said, look, I'm just looking for other things to do outside of this job because I'm over it. He pretty much said I'm over it, because he did say, he also did allude to saying that, and like I said, allegedly, of course, he said that the group of men that confronted him and of course extorted all this money from him were taxi drivers, okay? And that's alleged. I'm not saying it was, I'm just saying it was alleged according to him. That's what he said, but hey. So anyway, I went to the YouTube just to check, or I went to the news platforms just to find out what really is going on here in this scenario, right? And it's just crazy how our society has come to this point where everything is so constricted to the point where people who are trying to make an honest living, and this is something that really disturbs me, people who want to make an honest living are being attacked for making an honest living. So where do we draw the line here? Where are the limitations? Because before I get into that, I'll just play the video and then we'll get to it. Okay.
The incident of last night, a meeting was arranged with all the stakeholders. Soweto Parliament led by Nhlanhla Lux, Bontate Thabo Motato Mona from the e-hailing, Lintate Batuka, and then from the mall we had Brajo is here. And we also had a representative of commuters that was part of the meeting. We also had STS that was part of the meeting. And other malls were also invited. There was Jabulani Mall.
Yes.
There was which other malls?
Protea Mall.
Protea Mall,
Square, all the malls.
Square. So all the malls in Soweto were also part of the meeting, because we are saying that we can't resolve the issue here that might happen elsewhere. So we agreed on how we should move forward in terms of mitigating this problem. Now, there's been an allegation and a rumor that STS was behind these attacks. STS was not behind these attacks. They've given us an assurance of that. But also the victim, one of the victims whose car was actually broken and it was bent, also testified, told us in the meeting that when he was attacked, there was no mention of any taxi association. So STS has committed that they have been part of this. They have fought mall distraction during that time, and they have operated with e-hailing for a long time. But we are also informed that the so-called Mapele, Lepele in English is a cockroach. It is the illegal operators who pretend to be e-hailers. So they will come here to the mall and then they will then entice people with the half price to come and ride with them. So that is another big problem that we are experiencing here in Soweto. And we have all committed that we'll identify them and we'll make sure that we deal with it. The brigadier from the Kliptown has also committed that there'll be more visibility, but SAPS in general, because province was also represented, SAPS in general understands that this is now a bigger problem. So we are going to have a meeting next week where SAPS is bringing the different station commanders. All the malls will be represented. STS and e-hailing will also be represented. The MMC will also be in that meeting, where we are going to take our discussions further so that this does not happen. At the end of the day, it is about the commuters. It is about the people who are innocent in all these fights. So that is where we are. The mall has committed that they are also going to now, that is Maponya Mall, to bring in a night shift that will come immediately when the day shift ends, so that there is visibility. But they are also going to beef up their security, especially across the entrance lines, because that's where these guys drop people, the Mapeles. They are also going to invest in the AI system, where they are going to put in more cameras that will then have a number plate identification.
You know, one thing that I've really, come to understand when you look at situations like this, it goes back down to, a rough economy, right? And, I think we always do this, as a nation. We always do this. Things happen, all hell breaks loose. Then of course every top cop in the universe comes back and they assemble themselves, and then they talk about it, they convey all these type of things and what they intend to do, etc. And then at the end of the day, it's back to square one. So it's for me, it's just crazy how the state of things that are just happening right now are just like seriously becoming deteriorating each day as it goes, just like a movie. I think it also speaks to a bigger picture in this scenario. It speaks to a bigger picture. It speaks to a bigger problem that we have as a nation. Because at the end of the day, you look at the high rise of unemployment, and then of course taking into account the honest people who are making honest pay or honest days work are trying to prevent themselves from being in those situations. And then of course you've got a group of individuals who always take that chance to manipulate and basically, take away that from those who have worked hard. So I think, if anything, the nation needs to be more stringent on things like this. They need more stricter on things like this in order for people to work in a good environment, because your safety is important. I think it doesn't matter for where you work or where you're doing. It's always important to ensure that you are safe. Your safety is important in a working environment. So that's what makes sense to me at the end of it all, man. Like, I think this is just going to be a heightened issue. It's going to be, a top priority issue until such time everything has died down. And back to, of course you're going to get your people who are hijacked and stuff, because these people are blaming foreign people for driving because remember, I think a large number of the workers who work for these companies like Uber and Bolt are foreign people. So of course there's also this xenophobic thing going on where they're saying you're taking our jobs, etc., etc. We always look at blaming and pointing the fingers at the end of the day, which does not make sense. Instead, we need to be looking at who runs or who's basically the decision makers when it comes to these economies. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the issue. So you guys, let me know what you guys think about this situation, about the e-hailing attacks. Apparently it was the taxi drivers, but of course the taxi drivers have denied or have distanced themselves from being involved in these things. But yeah, it's chaotic for me. Until the next video, guys. Peace.